Hello, associates. This is Abha bringing you an interview in the RDS group. Today, we are here with Hunter Prater, and he is going to talk to us about various recruitment schemes and how the candidates should prepare for their first phone screen or for their first on-site. And of course, we're very interested in learning his career path. So Hunter, thank you so much for joining us and for agreeing to, interview with us.
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. I guess for those of you that don't know me yet, I actually used to be a scientist myself. I never went the PhD route, but I ended up working as a toxicologist for a few years before I got into recruitment that I do now. Through a strange series of circumstances, I found myself in recruiting. To make a long story short, the laboratory I worked for at the time got shut down, and it was the very end of November. So we were just going into the holiday season. So for those of y'all that don't know, a lot of companies tend to freeze up their hiring processes in the fourth quarter. And I was stuck without a job until January. It was terrifying. In this kind of weird interim, I kind of sat down and kind of really thought about what do I actually want to do? Because as much as I love the laboratory, I realized more and more that it wasn't for me. I love the science behind it, but being in a whitewashed room with no windows, just kind of doing this all day long at the computer screen or whatever instrument you're working with, I'm a little too social for it. And so I wanted to go ahead and explore other avenues that could allow me to use my science education and background, but also be social. And so by another strange series of circumstances, I stumbled across the current agency I work with, which is known as Kelly Services. Specifically, I work within Kelly Services in their division called Kelly Scientific Resources. So all I do is recruitment for the life sciences, anything from pharmaceuticals, medical device, cosmetics, specialty chemical, environmental. If there's any kind of life science out there, that's all I focus on recruiting for. There are some recruiters that might have a bit more variety where they're doing finance, IT, science, a number of things. All I do is just life science. And so I've been doing this now with Kelly for just a little bit over 2 years. I'm actually based in Tampa, Florida, and I primarily cover the state of Florida as well as the southeastern part of the United States, from Texas to Florida and Florida to Virginia.
Great. That is so wonderful. And I think you hit all the right points that we are so interested in. Because as we were having the conversation earlier, this interview is in the Research and Development Society, which is one of the advanced programs of the CSA. So here we have associates who are focused on the positions in the Research and Development division, but they're also very, very highly driven research professionals. So any food for thought that we can have, we have discussions in this group, and then we apply to positions and practice interviews as well. So what I want to know from you, Hunter, is what should a candidate be thinking when they are approaching a recruiter? Is there a go-to protocol that we need to follow? Or what should we remember when we are approaching a recruiter on LinkedIn or in person?
That's a great question. I guess the first and foremost thing that I think any candidate needs to be aware of when they're approaching a recruiter is, are you approaching the right recruiter for the role you're looking for? I get several people that reach out to me on LinkedIn that might be a mechanical engineer or an IT specialist of some sort, and they reach out to me asking for help, and I don't specialize in that. I don't have any connections in that realm. So I guess the first and foremost thing is you need to know who you're talking to and make sure that they're relevant for what you're trying to do. The second big thing I want to emphasize is don't come across desperate. A lot of people don't realize that while we want to help people, we really do, we're also working for the companies. And so from a company perspective, companies don't want to hire a desperate candidate. If you come across just saying, "Oh, I'll do anything," I understand. You're just looking to get your foot in the door, and you're willing to do what you need to do. But it's that same "I'm drowning" mentality. If you're drowning, you're flailing around, you're going to grab the first thing that floats, and it's a mess. Employers are not attracted to that. Recruiters aren't either. And now we want to help as much as we can. But if you come across and just say it's your job to get me a job, help me, help me, help me. It's just the wrong approach. And I guess I would approach a recruiter the same way that you would approach the company you want to work for.
Mm-hmm.
How would you talk to that manager? Talk to the recruiter the same way. Now, as we get to know each other, we can be a bit more personal. We can kind of go over your background a little bit more in detail. But I guess the biggest thing when approaching any recruiter is just be professional. As we develop more rapport, we can be a bit more relaxed and have a bit more candid conversations. But when you're approaching, I don't know you, you don't know me. Let's still act like professionals here. I want to help you. That's my job. Mm-hmm. But approach them in the right way. So I guess that's the two really big things. And I guess number 3, be prepared to have the conversation, a very technical and detailed conversation. Mm-hmm. If you just reach out to me and say, hey, I want a job. Okay, what kind of job do you want? Oh, a job in a lab. What kind of laboratory? There are so many different kinds. Do you want to do biologics? Do you want to do medical device? Come prepared to discuss what you're focused on. You have a PhD. You don't have a PhD in everything. Right. You're specialized in one thing. Come prepared to talk about what you're good at. If you can come to the table ready to have that conversation, it can be a much more fruitful conversation. Mm-hmm. And me as a recruiter can very quickly realize how I can best help you if I can.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Absolutely. I mean, research is what we are really good at. So we should do our research, for the position that we are interested in. So that's, I think that's a great point. And I just want to reiterate that I think practicing to talk how you want to talk to the recruiter, or you should just practice like you're in an interview. And I think that is the best approach. So no, that sounds great. I hope our associates are taking notes of this. The other thing that I want to know is many times we hear from our associates that, I've been approached by a recruiter, and then we had some message exchange or an email exchange, and then suddenly you don't hear from them for a really long time, or you don't hear from them at all. And that sometimes can be discouraging for some associates. Some just move on, but others might think that, I think there's something wrong with me, and that's the reason I'm not hearing back from them. So what should be done in such situations, or what insights can you share with us?
Well, I think that's another fantastic question. And I'm actually really happy I get to explain this a little bit more in detail for those who haven't had that understanding yet. As a recruiter, number 1, I don't make the hiring decision. And so I have to go through proper channels to talk to the manager, talk to the director, talk to whoever's in charge of the particular role I'm working on. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I make the introduction. I say, hey, Mr. Manager, I have this fantastic candidate here. They have A, B, C, D, E qualifications. You really need to take a look at them. I think they'd be a perfect fit for your organization because of X, Y, Z, whatever those details might be. Mm-hmm. But after that's done, I'm at the mercy of the manager I'm working with. If that manager is on vacation, if that manager is maybe they're having an FDA audit that week, there's a number of things that's going on the backside that a lot of people don't realize. Mm-hmm. And I can send follow-ups. I can call, email, Skype, LinkedIn, whatever I can do to push that conversation. But at the end of the day, it is a two-way street. I only have so much power in that conversation. Mm-hmm. But to the people who have not yet heard back from their recruiter, follow up. There's nothing wrong with sending a quick email. Hey, it's been a week. I know that you got my information. I know things might be going on with the company, but I just wanted to kind of have an understanding of what was going on. Mm-hmm. If you approach it with just an honest, hey, I'm just looking to follow up, we'll be honest with you. I'll tell you what's going on. Well, at least I can't speak for everybody. But that's how I work. If I haven't heard anything, I haven't heard anything. Right. I'll give you a perfect example. I was working with a company over here in Florida that asked me for help finding a specialized chemical engineer mm-hmm. that does distillations for citrus products. And they reached out to me for help and said, hey, we need to find this person to help us with this big project. Can you find us somebody to help out? I sent them a few people that had the correct qualifications they were looking for. And then the manager went silent. He never got back to me. He never emailed me. He never phone called me. He would never respond to me. Mm-hmm. And this went on for months. And I had no idea what was going on. And it was to the point where I was about to drive 2 hours to his door to say, hey, what's going on? You said you need help. Here I am to help. I come to find out there was a shift in that company's structure. A much larger, big component player in that company's organization had resigned and taken another position across the country. And so his very first priority was no longer the position he asked me for. His first priority was taking care of this much larger problem in his organization, and my position just got put on the back burner. He got back to me 3 months later, explained to me everything that happened. But until that happened, I was completely unaware as to what was going on. So to the candidates that are out there looking for work, realize that employers are people too. No one's perfect, but the only thing they're focusing on every day is not hiring for your position. They have regular daily duties as well. As a recruiter, that's all I do every day. I'm constantly looking at resumes, constantly trying to find right people for jobs. But once again, I'm not the decision maker. So we're always at the mercy of the decision maker behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, that is such great information. And yeah, we have to remember that, it's a two-way process. So, I mean, sometimes we have to be patient, and yes, follow-up is very, very, very important. So that is something that we also practice in our group over here, like, what to say, how to say, when to say, when you are in the recruitment process or getting to an interview. So no, those are all great points, Hunter. We appreciate this so much, and it coming directly from a recruiter, it gives us a lot of confidence in the process. So that's wonderful. One final question that I have for you is, when we apply, now we are ready. We've researched the position. We've been contacted by the recruiter. There have been some mails back and forth, and we're also following up. Now comes the question of a salary negotiation, like you're well up in the process. So what is your opinion about how should we approach the salary negotiation part? Should we go through the hiring manager? Should we go through the recruiter? Should we directly contact our potential supervisor? What do you think should be the approach?
Another great question. I will say, as the recruiter, when an employer reaches out to us to find the right person to fill their opening, whatever it may be, they always give us an indication of the salary range that they're looking to pay for that position. It's a business. They have budgets, and the budget says they have between X and Y for this position slated. We're not planning on going above that. And so what every recruiter should be doing is asking, what are your salary expectations before you even go through the application process? When you're having that initial conversation, just trying to network or whatever it may be, a good recruiter will ask, realistically, what are you looking for? And if what you're looking for is beyond the salary of what the company is willing to pay, a good recruiter should just tell you, let's wait for the right one, because this isn't the right one. When you become that candidate who says, oh, I'll take anything in the beginning, and then it comes down to the final process when they quote a certain salary dollar amount, and now you want to try it and haggle and negotiate at the last second. It's a really big off to employers. And given that the market we're talking to here is people who are fresh from academia looking to transition into industry, there's a lot of people out there in your same shoes. You need to have some flexibility for your first position. Now, I understand we're trying to make the transition from academia to industry for a number of reasons, one of them being salary. But when you're entry level, I have found personally that sometimes you need to take one step back so you can take 3 steps forward. And so, if it gives you a shot, gives you some experience that you can then list on your resume that will then open up so many more doors, what they're offering, take it, work it for a year or two. Get some experience that's relevant. No, I'm not saying if they throw you something like minimum wage, just completely just out of the question. You need to have a bottom there. You don't just be completely desperate. But don't expect to go straight out of school and be making this marvelous salary in your dream job straight out of the gate. You'll get there, but it takes time. Just like it took time for you to earn your PhD, it takes time to earn your place in the industry as well. And so when you're graduating out of school and you're trying to transition, you're a freshman. You're a freshman all over again, and you got to work your way back up through the system. So I always say take that first year or two, get your feet wet, make some connections that are meaningful in the industry. And from there, your doors will open so much wider.
Right. No, I appreciate that perspective. However, I do have an additional perspective to that, that actually if you practice negotiation and if you practice it well enough, then you don't leave the money on the table. And we always, I appreciate your point of, getting your foot in the door and then, making really meaningful connections to go higher up in the industry. And you may not land your dream job in your first job, but you can still get close. And for that, you have to be really prepared and you have to know what you want, and you have to be focused and not be desperate, like you said earlier. So I think my counter perspective to that, or rather just another perspective to that, is that you have to make a very, very good referral or a good impression in the company that you're applying to, so that if you're not the best fit for the role that you thought you were, you can have additional roles in the same company, and then
I agree.
maybe you can find a better fit, a better salary, and something of your choice. So that's something we also practice in our group. But like I said, again, coming from a recruiter, it's a stamp, like, okay, this is how you work for things. So that's great. I mean, Hunter, this has been so good. I don't want to let you go. I want to ask you so many more questions, but we are pressed for time. So hopefully we can have you here again and have some more questions. And will it be okay if our associates contact you on LinkedIn? May I share your LinkedIn profile with our associates?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Feel free.
Great. That is great. Thank you so much for this insightful interview, and hopefully we will have you again in the group soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.